What's up, everybody? Welcome to a winning Wednesday here at Fourth and Go. Philly 4 for 4. And I'm sure we're getting in all four tonight because they're all playing pretty well, even the ones that aren't playing. And we'll talk about that. I'm Dave Gleckner. This is Marc Tomasini. We are so excited to get to the end of the NFL season and have the number one team in the NFC here sitting in our backyard, the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll get into that and so much more. But let me bring in Marc. And do a toast, bud, because at the beginning of this year, I got to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure I was 13-4. You were right around there as well.
I think
and
I
we
was
go over our preseason.
Yep.
Preseason predictions. We're spot on, bud. Cheers to
are.
that.
Cheers to that. Yes, sir. What up? What up? The Philadelphia Eagles have not only the best record in the NFC, but in all of the NFL, they finished as the grand all be all team in all of the National Football League. It took, the last month or so was a little rough getting there, but injuries obviously had a great deal to do with that. But at the end of the day, they exceeded our expectations. I know you were right there, but they exceeded our expectations.
They did.
And looking at it now, it's tough because you look at it and the way the season end kind of puts a slight sour taste in your mouth just because you wish you were rolling in hot, because that's, obviously not the case right now. But we're definitely in a different situation and they have a lot of time to rest. And we will get into all of that. But, are we really complaining about a 14-3 team? I don't think so.
Not at all. I'm going back and looking. Dave 13-4, Marc 12-5. We'll do a quick recap here. And I don't think we really sat there and said we missed on anything per se. They just exceeded our expectations. Exactly what you said. Going over the first 4 weeks of the year, we both had 4-0. We both had a loss at the Cardinals. And remember how close that one came down to? Right. They had to hook one. Didn't they have to miss one for us to win?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. And then
I remember they were driving down the field. So I was traveling that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was traveling that, and I just saw that they actually missed the field goal for the Eagles to win because they were putting that into overtime. They were driving down the field, and they moved quick. They moved quick down the field.
Yeah, and if you remember, and you were driving, like you said, we're coming back, but the one thing that happened was Kyler actually went short of the first down marker,
right,
and then spiked the ball.
Yeah,
and then it all of a sudden turned it into like third down, and he threw one away, and they had to kick down early. They probably could have got closer if he didn't spike the ball on second down because he thought he had got the first down. Dummy play went our way. So that was a loss we didn't get right. Then you had us losing to the Cowboys. I had us winning, without Cooper Rush. That could have changed. Who knows? But I'm saying it wasn't far off. Obviously, we didn't have the Commanders loss. Okay, got it. We both had a solution in Indianapolis. Look how close that one came down to. We were down 10 in the fourth quarter and had to come back. So I think we were on to something there. Packers also, we did have a loss, and that kind of got dicey for a little bit, but Rodgers getting hurt was a key in that game. And then throughout the rest of the season, the only other loss we really had was to the Giants the last week of the season.
Yeah.
Because we thought it meant nothing. And it should have meant nothing.
It should have.
Yeah, so I just had, I had the Giants. I had a win against the Packers. I'm sorry. But either way, fine. But great year. Here's one other recap I want to look at, Marc. I don't know if you remember our divisional picks, do you?
Somewhat. I would have to go through each by each, but yeah.
Let's just pat ourselves on the back. Let's go into the AFC. Order finish in the AFC East. Bills, Dolphins, Pats, Jets for both of us.
Yeah.
I had the Dolphins in the playoffs. You didn't. That's okay. Then we went over to the AFC North. I got to give you a pat on the back here. Bengals, Ravens, Steelers, Browns. Wow. I had the same order, but no, I didn't have the same order. I had the Ravens, Bengals flipped. I had Ravens first, Bengals second. And
if you remember at the beginning of the season, would have thought that would have been right because the Bengals start out 0-2.
Yes.
They were a shell of themselves, and then they just completely tore up against the spread the rest of the year. So
now this is where we didn't get it quite right. We both had the Colts winning the AFC South, but you did have the Jags. You had the Jags in second. And got to give you credit there. The Jags came on and won. You weren't too far off. Didn't have them in the playoffs, but that's okay. And then we both had the Chargers winning, then the Chiefs in the AFC West, going Broncos, Raiders, close at the bottom there, but not bad. Our Super Bowl out of the AFC, we both have the Bills. So let's hold on and see. I have Bills, Ravens. You have Bills, Chargers. Let's see how that holds. NFC went a little more interesting.
Yeah.
Both had the Eagles win the division. Sure. You had the Cowboys making the playoffs. I had them second, but not making the playoffs. So good pick by you there. Here's one. I had the Vikings win the NFC North.
Yeah.
They did. You had the Packers. Not a big deal. Yeah, so that worked out. We both had the Bucs win in the NFC South. Kind of got lucky there.
Falling out of that one, yeah.
And then out west, I had the Niners. So I hit all four division champs in the NFC. And if you go back to the AFC, I hit 2 of the 3 there. So 6 of the 8, or 2 of the 4. You did still like the Rams. You were holding on to the Rams a little bit, which is okay.
No, but you didn't think they were gonna collapse that bad. I just really didn't think that it was just going to all fall apart, but it absolutely unraveled. And I should have known just with the fact that they bought all in last year and saying F them picks pretty much as the means have been out there, like F them picks.
Yeah.
That's what they did. And it blows up in their face. And now, Sean McVay's out and not officially, but he's taking time away and he's figuring out his life. He doesn't want to stay around for a rebuild. It's a mess.
You had your NFC is in trouble. You had Packers versus Rams in the NFC Championship.
Did I?
Yeah, and Packers in the bowl.
Did I have the Packers beating the Eagles in the?
Yeah. Yep. So I had Eagles Bucks in the divisional round, but here's the beauty: I had 49ers Eagles in the NFC Championship.
Yeah,
I have 49ers in the bowl. So I take that back now. I'll take the Eagles, but I was on the 49ers hard this year. And it feels good to, I got something really alive here as far as, and you do too. I mean, the Bills can still get there and you can still get a Bills Chargers. I'm not getting Bills Ravens. I'll tell you that now. But you could still get Bills Chargers. So it's some crazier things have happened.
I don't think we're getting Bills Chargers.
Well, I think the Jags probably beat them. But what I'm getting at is, we had a team out of the wild card, 2 teams out of the wild card last year that did end up making the playoffs, the wild card round. So don't put it past one of the Super Bowl, but don't put it past one of those teams. And if one of those teams could get hot, it's just that coach is such a fucking moron.
Right. Yeah, it's all the coach.
Yeah, but good stuff. Just wanted to recap our preseason predictions and just show. We know a little bit, so and definitely had some good mojo and good breaks fall our way. Now let's talk about the Eagles as they wrapped up Week 18 with the win to get the number 1 seed. What did you take out of that game down at the link here this last weekend? Because I definitely tweeted out some emotions. I did not like the game. I do have some concern. No, not that this team is good enough. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here saying they're going to lose first round because of the way they played in Week 18. No, but I do think they need to get some things fixed. I just want to get your perspective.
Well, to me, it starts off with the play calling. I understand. Well, I hope that the case was they wanted to go super vanilla. I get it. Here's the thing. They had 3 games since Chicago, and the 2 games they played with Gardner Minshew, he had a good offensive showing, but he made big mistakes in Dallas. I can't fault him for that. Dallas is a playoff team. They're a contender. I'm not going to completely crush him for that, though. I think that's where you have a backup quarterback is going. And I think I said this last week, going back to Quez Watkins that second time on the same play. That's just bad. That's just bad football. I kill. That whatever, you get over it. Then the Saints game was absolutely unacceptable because it's the trend that I saw in the Saints game and the Giants game. They did not run the ball. They did not try to really run the ball most of the game, either game. And I think I understand what the plan was for Sunday. Now looking back on it, they wanted to test out Jalen, but you have him drop back the first 9 plays against the Giants. I get you want to test him, but you're also playing vanilla. but you still were putting him in harm's way. Like, just get the running game going so then the passing game gets a little easier. If you get to do that, then you can take those chances down the field just to test his arm, because that's all they were doing. I just really hope that this was be vanilla, win the game, but they really just didn't go at all costs. Like, they could have lost that game. And that's what really bothered me, that they really took that chance. And I just think that they kind of played around with both the New Orleans game and the Giants game. And also, if you go back to the New Orleans game, at one point they did, they tried sneaking Gardner Minshew. Like, he's not Jalen Hurts. And I almost just felt like they were going to outsmart themselves and just be like, we can put anybody, like, almost they were trying to say that it's our system that makes the quarterback who he is, not the player itself. So I felt like that was the dumbest call I had ever seen, that they tried running the sneak with Gardner because he's not that guy. He's not Jalen Hurts. So really what it came to me is, I hope that they just really were keeping everything close to the chest. So then they didn't have tape out there for the past couple of weeks, and that they're going to hit everybody with something different going into these playoffs, which could be the case. But it just really, the play calling is my biggest concern going into the playoffs. Hopefully they right the ship. They have these 2 weeks and they figure it all out. But that's my biggest concern, what I didn't like about the past couple of weeks. Dating back to Chicago, the play calling was bad.
I really love that you took that perspective and angle, because for me, it's very similar. Even just opening up this game once again with, a heavy dose of, I gotta pass the ball. But my biggest concern is the red zone. You can't go 1 for 5 down there. Vanilla or not, you got to find ways to get the ball in the end zone.
Sure.
Boston Scott did get in the one time, but, not enough miles inside the 10, not enough game well for me. And then, the Giants stuffed off 2 easy slants, and it really turned into a pick. The other turns into Hurts running out of the way. Yeah. My concern, Hurts had a 24 QBR, 70 rating. Davis Webb had a better QBR and rating by far. Yeah. I know it's, getting back into the swing of things, but and I'm glad he played as much as he did. I am an advocate of that. No matter what, was on the line, I thought he should have played a minimum of a half. And I'm hoping we got all those kind of, throwing pings and play reads and timing, all kind of out of the way here. So that, I did not like the play calling, but in the end, it was a necessary evil for us to just get out there and get some things ironed out. And I'm hoping that's what it was, because that was bad. But on the flip side, I got to also say the defense sucked again. And it just, you can say what you want, but in the last, third of the game, let me just put this. The whole game, all they cared about was a sack record. Right. And they were going out there trying to pin back theirs, and it was clear as day. They said, you got to get this ball out of your hands, get it out quick. And by the time they started figuring us out, we couldn't stop them. That's embarrassing. They scored what? What was the final score? 22-16 or 19?
16.
Yeah. Well, they scored 13 points in the fourth quarter. Yeah. 2 touchdown drives. They missed the 1 2-point conversion. It's sad. And for a team we just needed to be the bullies. We just needed to put our stamp on this season.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried when you look at even reeling back to 3 games ago. I'm a little concerned that, we're not playing our best football going into the playoffs.
Again, I want to be on that same wavelength, but I really think that they figure it out and they correct their issues going into the playoffs. And I think, honestly, whoever they play, and we'll get into all their potential matchups, if they have even a half decent win against any of those teams, I mean, just something by more than 3 points, I think their mojo will be just fine. I think we'll be looking at this team like we were looking at them a couple weeks ago. As long as, Jalen Hurts is, back to pre-shoulder injury, I'll feel good about this team. And I think the defense will get, a nice boost. I mean, we got Gardner Johnson back, the possibility of having Maddox back, I think changes a lot of things for this team going forward. So again, all the emphasis is on the play calling, what they do. And look, both Steichen and Gannon have interviews now. So, the best way to increase your chances of becoming a head coach, Go out there and put some good tape together. And that means Gannon, stop playing zone the whole time. If you want to do it every so often, that's fine. But obviously the numbers aren't there when you're playing zone. And Steichen, run the ball a little more. And I don't want to be that guy, just run the ball. But you see what your quarterback's going through right now. You see that you have a 3-headed running back committee. You have Miles Sanders, who's had his best year, I think, as a pro. And you've been saving him. Okay, now's the time to let him rock and roll. If those two guys do those two things, I think we're looking at February football.
Yeah, I mean the NFC is weak, and the Eagles are the best team, and they're a class above the rest because their roster is deep, it's well built, and it's wide, and it's good at every position. So, if the coaching figures a way and is able to build the right game plans, which they have, and to get us to this point, to go 14-3, and we're able to execute. And when I mean execute, that 1 for 5 in the red zone still stings me. If we're able to execute down there and we're able to hold teams back out in the other direction, we're going to be fine. And a lot of this has some kind of eerie parallel world symmetry to the 2017 season. It really does. Foles had to play last week, looked bad, and we were rolling in to the Atlanta game on that Saturday night, which I think we'll get, by the way, next week, a Saturday night game. There was some concern, and even into halftime, concern, and even sweating it out until the last play, concern. And it took just some freedom in the Minnesota game for us to finally show our feathers, right?
Right.
And I think, we're going to see a little of that. I still have confidence. I still have faith. They need to get this thing, this conversion efficiency fixed for me, and they need to get back to a defensive style where they are actually playing their lanes and playing team football instead of just trying to sit there and get individual sacks to break a record.
Right. That now that's past them. Look, they're most all time. Records don't count in the playoffs. Like, that's just getting the win. If you're thinking about anything else, then we have an issue.
Exactly. So let's talk about, and we'll get into a lot more Eagles talk as we, progress here in the playoffs. And I'm sure we'll break down our upcoming opponent. But right now we're going to talk wild card weekend. And wild card weekend, super wild card weekend, Mark, right? And now with the addition of 14 teams, this second year doing it. And now we're seeing a Monday night football game, which we did see last year. It really begs the question, is there a better weekend of NFL football? I'm not sure. I mean, divisionals will be fun. I know championship weekend will be fun, but this weekend, oh man, I just think it's a great, weekend of football.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like last year, the first 2 weekends of football were amazing. I thought the divisional round, remember last year, which would be next week's round, was unreal. But I remember last year's first round being really well. You go from Saturday to Monday, all good games on the docket. This year, I feel like we have a little, we have some width. We have some, what do I want to, I don't know if I want to say barn burners, but we have potential for not some close games, and then we have potential for close games. So it's going to be interesting with the slate that we are looking at, just based on injuries and stuff like that. I know we'll get into it, but it's the fact that, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 5 games from now to Monday. So it's going to be good. Playoff football. Can't beat it.
Yep. 6. Should be 6.
6. Right.
Yeah, 2 Saturday, 3 Sunday, 1 Monday.
3 Sunday. That's why, because 1 Monday.
All right, we're going to get into it. We're going to try something different here. Yeah, I'm going to try something here. Let me know if we are we showing, is my screen popping up? It should be popping up in a second here.
Yep.
All right, we got it.
Okay.
All right, we're going to get into a little bit of our bets this weekend. Do you see the DraftKings lines live?
I do. Yes.
All right, I'm going to pass it over here. We're in 6 games. We got picks to give out. I'll start with you as I always do. What's your favorite one to start with?
My favorite one to start with. Do you want me to give you my upset special?
Go for it.
Jags Chargers. I saw the line on FanDuel with the Jags at +2.5, but even +2. Here's the thing. We alluded to it earlier. Staley for the Chargers, he's a joke, and he's the reason why this team is not doing bigger and better things that they're doing. Doug's got the experience, right? And he comes into a situation where his team is, they've been playing relatively well. They won the South. It's kind of a big thing. You're seeing the progression of Trevor Lawrence. Travis Etienne has been, a good complimentary back. I mean, getting what you're getting out of Zay Jones right now, I think is a lot. He's had some better weeks previously, but still he's been a very good receiver. They have a lot of talent, Christian Kirk of the world. And, honestly, I think the Chargers just end up shooting themselves in the foot. I will say that they put out a social media on their Twitter page. They put out, they said noted, and it was all the pundits, national pundits saying they're cooked, they're out, they're done, they stink. And I think it's a lot of good motivation. But again, I really think it's all up to the play caller. It's up to the coach. And if he does his crazy fourth downs on, in his own territory and, takes points off the board, if he stays in that trend, I really like the Jags here at home to handle business outright.
I love it. I love it. That's one of my picks. I've already put in a play at +3. And if we can get it back up to that key number, I'll be back in there again. Otherwise, I might just hang out and enjoy the +3. But I like it, Mark. I think this game, and 2.5 wouldn't get on my nerves either because we got crazy coaches here. Like you said, we got Staley on one side going for every other fourth down. Even though he's been less this year, but he makes just comical decisions. And then you got Pearson that could go for 2 and skew the game at any point.
Riverboat Dog.
Yeah. So I like it.
He's definitely been more calculated. I feel like he has matured as a coach. And I honestly, I think I like Doug more now that he's in Jacksonville than when he was here. And that's no offense to him, but I just was never sold on him big time. And even when they won, I felt like he had something to do with it, but I felt like there were a lot of other causes that it was. But I like his situation down in Jacksonville. I like they have a chance to, I think, excel next year.
Yeah, I don't think he's matured. I saw him go for 2 when it was 6-0 in one game. I think he just understands he's got a team. When you're the better team, you sometimes want to put pressure on other teams and just really put your foot on the pedal. And I think that's what he was doing with this team. He's got to be a little bit more conservative. I think it's more the team than it is him. But we'll see. Anyway, I love him as much as you do. My perspective is he's playing to the team's strengths right now, so it's been a little more conservative. But let's jump to my upset special of the week. And I actually got a couple. A lot of teams do win coming out of this weekend, but I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers plus the 2.5. Again, a number I would like to see if you could buy it up. Right now we're looking at DraftKings. You get plus 100. You can definitely buy that one up. Probably to 3 at minus 120, maybe 125 at the worst. I wouldn't hate it. But here's what I do know. It closed out as bad as it could have for the Dallas Cowboys last weekend against Washington Commanders. And a lot of people will look at that game and say, same old Cowboys, they're going to choke in the playoffs. I do think they'll be better, and I do think that will be their wake-up call, where in years past they just rode this momentum in and got their wake-up call in the playoffs.
Right.
But it's Tom Brady, and it's a team that he's never lost to the Cowboys, 7-0. He's 7-3 as an underdog in the playoffs, ATS. He's a guy that I think relishes in this moment. And I think they did find a little momentum at the end of the season. I think they're getting some pieces back that will solidify some of their weaker parts, like the offensive line. Right. And I just think they can – I'm not sure the advantage of the coach is as big as it would be with other teams, but I do think that advantage at the quarterback is large. I think Dak is a problem. And I do think that Tampa Bay Buccaneers on a Monday Night Football highlighting Tom Brady and what could be one of his last games ever, even though I do think he plays next year. I think it's a great spot for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They were the worst team covering in the history of football that made the playoffs. I think they ended up being somewhere in the 4-12-1 or 5-12 range, depending on where you got certain numbers.
Sure.
Worst team to ever make the playoffs with that type of number against the spread. Don't make it a win this week, ATS, and a win outright. Give me the Bucs.
Yes, I actually am right there with you. I like the Bucs as well in that scenario. I definitely put that down on my end. I haven't put money on it yet, but I'm probably going to throw something out there, come this weekend. Are we going to go through all these?
Well, just pick another game, yeah. Because I won't double up. If you pick a game, I'm going to move off and pick another one.
Sure. So I'm going to stay where you are on the screen and go right above. You're looking at the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals. The Ravens, it looks, Lamar is not practicing again. So I have a hard time believing that he's going to play. And even Huntley, I don't think he's even able to practice right now too. So the Ravens are, still in the same scenario that they're in. But the thing is, the Ravens are a tough football team besides the quarterback scenario right now. I like the Bengals in this game, but at 8.5, that seems like a lot. These teams always battle each other hard. I feel like some way, somehow, even though the Bengals, I think, should absolutely demolish them, it's always close and it's always chippy. And I feel like the Ravens will be able to run the ball to keep themselves in the game here. So I like the Ravens at plus 8.5.
I don't disagree. Here's what I said on a show earlier today. I said if Lamar Jackson plays, I'm betting the Bengals and I'm betting them hard.
Yeah.
If anyone else plays the quarterback, I kind of lean Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a mistake to roll him out there and force it. And I think him on one leg does them no good. We saw Robert Griffin get injured in the playoffs that one year and was never good again for Washington. So, yeah, I don't disagree with the pick. And here's my assumption that, a guy like Anthony Brown will play. I like it. I like your pick. I think the Bengals are getting a lot of steam. I keep seeing this Niners-Bengals Super Bowl. It's not happening. Listen, it's just not. And I'm not saying the Bengals won't get there. I'm just saying those two teams together, I just can't see it. And they might get a tough challenge. Divisional game too, right?
Right.
So I like it. I'll roll up to the game above it. The Vikings are frauds, and everybody knows it. But let's not take something away from the Giants. They're fraudulent too, as well. They had a little spike at the end of the season here because they were able to catch teams at the right time. Washington in their free fall, the Giants were able to squeak away a win against them late in the season and get in the playoffs. And then they did play the Vikings, with some heart. And then they played and lost. And then they played the Colts, who were just an absolute shit show, and beat them 38-10. So what do I have from the Cowboys? From the Giants. I really don't know. They had a tie against the Commanders before that, a pretty decent loss on Thanksgiving to Dallas, a big loss to the Lions, big loss to the Eagles. I don't have as much faith in this Giants team as a lot of people do right now. I'm taking the Minnesota Vikings minus the 3. I am cheering for the Giants. I think the Giants are a team that I would love to see come to Philadelphia and would be the easiest path we could get. I just don't think it ever ends up that easy for the Eagles. I think the Vikings, they win these close games. They're 11-0 in one-score games. Giants aren't going to pull this one and get far from them. Vikings aren't going to get far either. I'm going to take the Vikings with their patented history right now of winning those close games and have them move on and head to San Francisco in a matchup where I think they will get absolutely obliterated. So I'll take the Vikings this week over the Giants.
I like that pick. The 3 number, I would obviously love that to come down a little bit.
Yeah.
At 2.5, that would be fantastic. But I'm definitely right there with you. The Vikings are – the thing is the Giants don't have anybody, I think, that can keep up with Justin Jefferson and their receivers. And I think that's the difference in the game. I think it's Kirk Cousins being able to get the ball to his receivers, and I think that makes all the difference. We're going to just go right up the screen. So the Buffalo Bills host the Miami Dolphins. Here's the thing. Tua Tagovailoa I always butcher his name. He's not playing. They've already ruled him out.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Honestly, if he didn't have 3 concussions this year already, I think Mike McDaniels would have tried to roll him out there, but they can't. They know they can't. They know they would get absolutely obliterated from all, sides of the NFL. Tua's not playing. And, it goes back to his performance against the Packers. You can't take that chance. But the thing is, you have Skylar Thompson, who's making another start in the playoffs in Buffalo. This is a very big line, and you and I both know how you and I feel about big lines this year. But if it's up to me, I'm rolling with this line with the Buffalo Bills at -13. I saw it -13.5. I would still do it. I think it's a 2-touchdown game. Tua is not amazing, but he did make that offense go. They have a lot going on there, but I don't think they have the offensive line to protect it. Skylar Thompson, the atmosphere is going to be too big. It's going to be very cold. Regardless, I just think that it is, a whirlwind. Buffalo's still going to be reeling off of the Damar Hamlin stuff. They're going to come in with a lot of fire and a lot of rage, and they're going to be ready to go. So to me, I think that this is a huge spot for the Buffalo Bills just to completely roll over this divisional game. Even though usually I think divisional games lead to tight ones, this is really, in my opinion, no contest. But who knows? Maybe next week I'll be saying something different. But I got no contest here.
I like where your mind's at. I mean, from a perspective, it's not just the Skylar Thompson factor. Like Tyreek Hill walked off the field 2-3 times last week with a bad ankle.
Yeah.
Trying to get back on, couldn't get it going. And for me, it was probably also, injured pride. He doesn't have anyone that can really throw him the ball. And, the ankle hurts a little bit more when balls are flying over your head, short, left, right. So with him out, it even makes it more difficult. And he's not out.
But him kicked out essentially. And
and I think that's
to be his full self.
Yeah, I think that's reflected somewhat in the line. I also think Mike McDaniel is a joke of a coach. He's more of a comedy act. He should go to Vegas and just hang out there because what he's doing in the NFL is just it stinks. And from that standpoint, I just think you have a team that's dialed in, right? You have a team with McDermott that's going to be dialed in. So I'm with you. I think it's a good pick. I'm a little nervous, and we have been all year long about number that high. And we've been taking the dogs, and they've been barking. But in this case, I think you have some value there. So I'll land on the last game on the slate, which is the first game on the slate this upcoming weekend. And I tell you what, I'm going with the Seattle Seahawks. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row. The Niners have won 10 in a row, are rolling into the playoffs. Brock Purdy is looking like not Mr. Irrelevant, but Mr. Real Deal. And, with all that said and all this good mojo they got going on, I just think that Seattle is going to get a little bit undervalued here. I'm going to wait and see if I can get this at 10. Like you said, I'd like to see a little bit jump, especially up another half point, get to a key number. But I think Seattle can – look, they didn't play well at the end of the season, and that's a fact. But they still have some firepower. DK Metcalf has caught 14 balls against the Niners this year in 2 games. And Kenneth Walker is going to play as good as he can on that bum ankle. And I just think they have enough fight, maybe play a little bit, mucked up defense to confuse Brock a little bit. And I think they can hang in this one long enough to get us to the window and get us cashing a ticket at +9.5.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. Like divisional games, they're tough. They're always tough. And this is not the same scenario that we're talking about, with Skylar Thompson playing quarterback for the Dolphins. This is, Seattle's been tough. They really had a strong middle of the year and they kind of fell off a little bit, but they were able to win out this past weekend to get in there, even though that was a tough game against the Rams. But I think the Rams they played with a lot of energy at the end of the year. Baker coming in. So I really feel like they just kind of faced a Rams team that was weirdly hot at the end of the year. So, and I think they just, weren't ready for it, but they're going to play a 49ers as tough as they possibly can. But, obviously I think that the Niners take care of business, but that's a good pick by you. 9.5 flat points.
You get one chance to change your pick at the beginning of the year. You have Bills versus Packers in the Super Bowl. Now we're here. Give me what you think it will be now.
I want to say Bills Eagles.
I'm there.
It's tough. I mean, it's always hard to actually it would be easy to say the Niners because you don't want to be the one that put it on your own team to go and do it. But honestly, I really feel that the Eagles are going to bounce back and they're going to show what they were doing earlier in the year. And I think, and the thing is, I'm not underplaying Brock Purdy because the thing is, everybody talks about how San Fran's defense is so great. Our defense has been doing the same stuff that they have, blitzing the same amount of time that they have, and they're playing teams that aren't as good as the teams that we've played this year. So, but the national media goes with it. It's like Fred Warner. When you have an elite linebacker like that, it changes the whole face of your defense.
Yeah.
You got Bosa on the line, and you look at that. But the Eagles have just been stout from top to bottom. And I just really think that if just the play calling is better, I don't see how the Eagles don't make it to. And the fact that they have home field advantage is humongous. We saw how much that played out in 2017, 2018. Philadelphia home field advantage is unlike any other.
You saw it with the Phillies playoffs too. So
right.
The World Series run. So what would be your ideal path? And I agree with you. I will say I have Eagles Bills right now too. I think the emotion of the DeMar Hamlin stuff and being able to get to a neutral site against Kansas City, if it does play out that way, I think there's just a lot of good things in play for the Bills. I do have concerns with Josh Allen's kind of the way he can turn it over in critical situations, but I just think it's their time. I really do.
Yeah.
And I think they get there. What's your perfect path for the Eagles? Who's your best opponent coming up in the divisional round? It can only be Seahawks, Giants, Cowboys.
Cowboys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the Giants are the best because the Seahawks, we haven't played them. We don't know. You never know if you get some freak game from Geno Smith. The Cowboys, it would be cool for the storyline, but they always can turn it on. We just saw them torch our defense apart.
Yep.
I really think from best to worst, Giants are the best. Bucks next, because I really think that our offense can withstand anything that the offense can do. Then the Seahawks, then the Cowboys. It's just that interdivision rivalry. I know the Giants are there, but we took care of them when we were really rolling hot. I think they have the chance to be rolling hot coming into that game. So the perfect path would be beat the Giants. Then there would have to be an upset. It really, I don't see how it's not San Francisco, but if it were to happen to be Minnesota, then obviously that rolls out amazing for us. So then it would be Giants, Vikings, Super Bowl against the Bills. But with the DeMar Hamlin stuff and with the Bills, again, this just seems more team of destiny. And Buffalo has been waiting on this forever, and they've been there so many times and haven't been able to. It's one of those things where it will be a dogfight. And I honestly think it would be a great Super Bowl for the whole nation to watch.
Yeah, people said it before. If the Eagles and Bills play in the Super Bowl, God bless the world, because it's going to be
madness.
Every car in the New York and Philadelphia region needs to be locked down and put away because it's going to be crazy either way. But I'll say I'm a little different than you. Not much. I would say Seattle's the best path. They are leaking oil, but I don't think they beat the Niners. So from that standpoint, the most realistic one would be the Giants upsetting the Vikings, getting them here. I do think the Eagles roll the Giants. And I think it's then they get their close game the next week against the Niners. I don't see any way that I think the Niners' toughest game is this weekend because it's just beating a team a third time. But I think they absolutely they might beat Minnesota by 40. It's just too much of a physical mismatch, and Minnesota's just so bad defensively. But I'm hoping, and we'll see if this works out this way. This is where, even though I picked the Vikings, and I will bet the Vikings, I'm hoping Giants win. I'm hoping Bucks win. Eagles, Giants. Bucks Niners really makes for a pretty cool matchup because I could see Brady maybe playing in the Bay Area next year. More than likely, I think he does end up at Miami or Vegas. But there's talk he could end up there too. So I think that would be an awesome, awesome divisional round.
Yeah, I really do. I think Vegas, I think, is a strong contender. I also think there were talks about New England too.
Yeah,
I don't know. Does he really reopen that one back up?
the talent's not
I
there.
think he should just right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, Miami or Vegas would be ridiculous. The San Francisco thing is, though, it's just a quarterback carousel. I don't know
Yep.
how to really navigate that because if Purdy does really well, and then Jimmy G, obviously, you have to figure out where to move, or he might be a free agent after this year. And then you got Trey Lance. So
Mm-hmm.
that just might be one of the most complicated things you ever have there. So, I mean, that's something we'll definitely get into the offseason further, but that could be interesting storylines with the Brady thing, regardless.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's jump over to the other sports in town real fast here, and we'll roll them off, one by one, just like a drum line here. And we'll go with the Philadelphia 76ers first. You're on the clock. What are you thinking? 25-15, high water mark of the season, 10 games over 500. You getting feeling a little better about Doc Sixers right now?
It's tough. Doc's not going anywhere. I'm
Yep.
reaffirming that from the last week. They're playing well. James Harden's playing well. Joel Embiid's playing well. I mean, they're completely racking up these, lower level teams, and they're just completely taking them to the woodwork. It seems that, ever since Christmas when the Woj report came out, it seems like things have gotten better with the team. Honestly, I think there's
You're
more.
talking about the Harden to Houston thing?
Yes. Yeah. It seems like, they were talking to Jaden Springer after the game last night because he got to come in and he split points in 2 minutes. And he said, James and Joe are the ones who are like, we're getting you in the game. You're going to go do your thing. So I think that, with Tyrese back, the wheels are rolling in the right direction. Again, I don't know if there's really anything that they can do at the trade deadline. If they could bolster this team, that would be something. I don't know how they would do this, but a name that came up that really grabbed my eye. I don't know how they would make this work. But Gary Trent Jr. Will be available because I think that.
Do you think Toronto would trade with us though?
I don't know. I don't. Geez, the last time they made a trade with Toronto, I feel like that was. I feel like we're talking early 2000s. It's the last time we did anything with them. I don't think they would, but that would be. But they're also desperate because it seems like they're trying. They might be rebuilding that team. Who knows who's available? But Gary Trent Jr. is a good defender. He's honestly to me a better Robert Covington. He can shoot the three ball really well. He can get super hot, and he plays good defense. That would be somebody. He's what we were hoping Daniel House would be, and hoping Tyrese Maxey, or not Tyrese Maxey, Matisse Thybulle would be like somebody who a real 3-and-D player who could come off the bench. That would be. I mean, I know Melton's doing that, but to actually have it at the at the 3 position, you have a player like that coming off the bench. Then I'm really all confident in chugging forward with this team. But things are looking good right now in Sixerland.
Yeah, what I liked last night was that they, won, so decisively that the guys didn't even have to play in the fourth quarter. And then Detroit comes out tonight. You can say what you want about them. Yes, Bogdanovich was back, but they come out tonight and beat Minnesota with pretty much the same lineup. The Sixers demoralized them, and that's what I want to see. I want to see this, this roster play to their potential, and they definitely did last night. So I'm excited because I remember losing in Detroit one game last year. Now Cade Cunningham was in, and he definitely can create some matchup problems. But to win those types of games, to win the way they did, does give me some excitement. They got the game tomorrow night. Here, I want to say, then they hit the West Coast, right? And it's going to get, much more difficult. They got it's a weird jump around. I feel like they might do Utah up to Portland, down to LA, over to Phoenix. But they got a lot of those teams on the road coming up here, and it's going to be a big test. Right now, Brooklyn is starting to, exert their power. They're up at the top. Still got Boston. But the Bucks are just leaking a little bit, especially without Middleton. If we can, maybe we don't catch the Bucks at 3, but right now we can get to 4 where Cleveland's sitting, and 4 would be nice. 4 would be nice because either way, 4 or 3, you're playing Brooklyn or Boston right now. Coin flip to me. Coin flip. So
we are at 4 now. We are at 4 right now. I mean,
I thought Cleveland. You know what? They lost late.
We jumped Cleveland.
You know why? Cleveland was up 7 last night, and Utah went on 11-0 run in the last 2 minutes. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yep. So we did jump them last night. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, you never know. I mean, if the Sixers, it's definitely possible. See what happens with Milwaukee, but it's definitely possible. I mean, if they get in the 3, they're golden.
Well, getting in the 3 is great for the first round for sure. Like I said, second round you're still on the road. Whatever, we'll take it. But yeah, I am getting a little bit more satisfied with the way they're playing basketball. I've actually seen James Harden jumper look a little bit more, arky, if that's a word, but it definitely has some more air on it, which I like.
His driving to the basket has gotten better. It's
because he's finishing.
He's not doing this, I'm looking for a foul driving the lane. He's actually putting the shot up
or just missing layups flat out. No, he's making them now. Yeah. And Embiid's doing his thing, and Maxey, he's gonna get there. I'm definitely good with Tobias. Like they're looking okay. Which I'll take.
Maybe they just because we were so high coming off of last year. Like, all right, this makes sense. They made these moves, even though besides the Melton move, nothing they really done has House Tucker hasn't really gone the way that we hoped they're planned. But the core and Melton have just been, and also surprisingly, Matisse Thybulle has found some life again. His defensive rate, I know it's begrudging of you to say it.
No,
his rating has been. Somebody said it's almost like it's 6 on 5 when he's out in the court, just because of his defensive rating and what he's been able to do.
Yeah.
I obviously would still love to see some more offense from him, but he's starting to make shots here and there. So it's,
No, I'm with you. I was going back and looking. I played a couple numbers on them, but 50.5 is my win total. Right tomorrow makes the high, the half season mark, and if they get to 26, we'll be right on that number to trade over. Another 50-win season would be very good. Let's go over to the Philadelphia Phillies real fast here. They were in the news again because Dombrowski won't stop, can't stop. Give it to him, Puff Daddy. And I'm telling you, this trade really hit the mark for me. I read some grades on it, but I'm referencing the Gregory Soto trade from Detroit, bringing in a left-handed smoke thrower, a guy that's been on the Tigers closing games for the past 2 years, was their all-star representative. I had 30 saves, I want to say, last year. His ERA was right around 3. So his issue sometimes gets a little bit Alvarado-ish with his control, but
that's what you get with these guys.
That's what you get. And we had to give up a little bit. Our buddy Nick Maton had to go as part of this, and so did Matt Vierling. Love Matt. I really do, but Matt wasn't going to be anything here, especially with an outfield of Marsh, Schwarber, Harper. I know Harper's out for a little bit, but there's too many ducks in a row. So Vierling was going to go, and that's okay. Maton hurt a little bit more, but in the end, with the Trey Turner signing, I mean, Maton wasn't getting in this rotation. It stopped. So it's 2 expendable pieces. For what they saw, what the Astros did to us was just roll out flamethrower after flamethrower after flamethrower. And that's what the Phillies want to build. And you bring in 10, you just hope 5 are good. And I'm good with this trade. I actually read that Detroit won this trade from a few sources, including Ken Rosenthal. But I'm not worried about it. I think they're overvaluing how good Vierling may be.
Right, I agree. So you think about it. Maton and Vierling and Donnie Sands.
Saints, yep.
They were never seeing consistent field play. They just weren't. And the only reason why I think it's seen as a win because Detroit potentially got 2 starters for their
Yes.
team. That
And
and that's why
everyday
it
players.
has a win and just for a reliever, and another utility player, whatever we want to say about him. But yeah, look, I get it. I could see why they see it as a win because of the starters, but we got real talent in that bullpen. The Phillies are doing what they need to do. They've filled up that team. They've done everything that they needed to do. Really, I mean, you have Dalton Guthrie, who kind of came on at the end of last year to play in the field. I mean, you still have Castellanos, obviously, whose defense got better at the end of the year. And then, maybe they go out and get an Adam Duvall or something like that. I know the Mets are showing interest. Obviously, we saw what happened with the Carlos Correa situation. But if the Phillies go out and get, a temporary bat fielder in the outfield, amazing. If not, they'll be able to supplant, like you said, with Trey Turner. It just changes so many things to this lineup. This lineup only gets better. I think they're plenty fine. And I was looking at their bullpen today. So between Dominguez, Alvarado, Soto, Strom, and Kimbrel, no one had above a 3.83 ERA. I did the math earlier today. I think their combined ERA for last year was like 3.48. So to have your bullpen like that, got a couple flamethrowers, you got a lot of experience in there, really good experience from top to bottom. They've turned over a bullpen that was really good last year, got even better this offseason.
It did, and it gets to a point where I think they were too Alvarado and Dominguez dependent when it came to the World Series run. That now you can spread that out, and now you don't have Jordan Alvarez sitting on an Alvarado fastball outside because he saw him for the 6th time in the series.
Right.
So, I think it's all good, and it just shows that what they're building now. You looked at the Mets and you talked about Carlos Correa. That was a crazy thing. He ends up back where it all started, Minnesota Twins, and he must be really dinged up for the Mets not to want to spend their $800 million on him. But it trims their payroll this offseason. I don't think the Mets got any better. I'll be honest. They lost DeGrom. They replaced that with a 41-year-old Verlander. I don't know. I mean, they signed Nimmo. I get it. He was going to be deserving of money, but I don't think they're good. But I don't think they got that much better.
They signed the Japanese pitcher. I thought
that's true too. Yep,
he's good. I feel like they signed
it. The Pittsburgh Jose Quintana. Yeah,
Quintana, and I felt like they did some more in the field. No,
I'm trying to remember now. I think that was the major one because they did catcher. Didn't they get oh shoot. They didn't get Willie Contreras. He went
no, Francisco Alvarez. Was that? No, not Alvarez. I'm thinking I could have swore there was somebody else, but
yeah, no, you're on. I mean, they spent money, so they
spent a lot of money, but for the amount of money that they spent, regardless, I think their pitching evened out. If anything, here's the one thing I'll tell you: Jacob DeGrom,
Edwin Diaz, they re-signed, didn't they?
They re-signed him. That was insane. Like he was good, and really remember, just a couple years ago, when he came over from Seattle.
They hated him.
And he was. I mean, remember he would throw up. He would throw a pitch, batter would smoke it. He'd be pointing up to the air like it's a pop-up, and the ball is going and going and going. So I think that Edwin Diaz is a really good player. He was a really good player when he came over in the Robinson Cano trade. But how long does that last? Things change when the Timmy Trumpet thing or whatever happened. And, I don't know how long the Edwin Diaz lasts to pay him. I think it was like $100 million over 5 years, right?
Yeah,
that's an insane amount of money to give him. I think that was a mistake.
Yeah, but it's Cohen money, so we'll see where they land up. I know the Braves have filled a couple pieces in that I liked. They did get rid of Dansby, but they were able to bring over that catcher from Oakland, Murphy, that I like. They did a few things. But anyway, Philly's looking good. Let's round this show out and send it home down the stretch with the Philadelphia Flyers. Mark, we talked about before the show, big win tonight against the Washington Capitals. Konechny nets a hattie or hat trick. And it's just been like, I've been watching a little bit, I got to admit, and it feels like we knew all along Tortorella was going to make these moves that he didn't care if the player liked it or not. Scratching D'Angelo and doing some other things to this team to just show who is the boss. Sometimes he had to do that and exert his style, his power, and it's starting to kind of fester up. I mean, winning that game, like you said, 6-7 now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I haven't been watching that much, but just by the trends and just what I think. Remember, we've seen Flyers teams who have gone on 10-game winning streaks and then go on a 10-game losing streak in the same season and still end up as one of the worst teams. But I think this is exactly what, when I made my prediction, I know you were a little higher on them, and obviously they're playing well right now. Oh my God, Tortorella is getting the most out of these guys.
Yep.
And he's going to be able to figure out what he has going next year. I think this is a trust the process type of moment. He's going to figure out what he has next year and what he has to do and what this team has to do next year. I think that's going to be, and I think this team will surprise people come next year because there is some talent there. I think they just need to sprinkle a little more magic in there. But this is what happens. This is, he's has them probably outplaying their competition.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, when did you say I was a little more higher? You're right. But I was only higher enough that I thought they were probably high 80s if they could get there. Second
fighting
fringe playoff.
But yeah.
Yeah, not quite playoffs, but they would flirt with it a little bit. And I mean, I'm not saying they're flirting with it, but at 41 points, they're sitting here top three. Then you give those two, they're 6-7 points out of the wild card spot right now. It's not out of the realm of possibility. But in the end, I know what this team is, and this team is in a transition year, like you said, building for next year. What's crazy is these Boston Bruins are 32-4. They're just untouchable. But the Flyers, for the most part, outside of Toronto Maple Leafs the other day when they lost 6-2, have really beaten some decent teams too lately. Which I'll take. And again, speaking of the Capitals, that was a good win tonight. And the other day when they did have that win, it's not always Carter Hart. The shutout with the Sabres, Erson got a good, 28 saves in that game. So they're using all the pieces they have. And I'm excited.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, so we'll point to that top right piece there. Those Philadelphia Flyers making us at least into January with something to talk about. And my brother-in-law lives out in Oregon, and he subscribes to the NHL package just so he can see the Flyers. Okay. He texted me before the show. He's like, "Oh, I'm so pumped." He's like, "This is Tortorella," and he's right. One of the things he noted was, in the press conferences, and we've all seen it. He's there trying to just work the media, but also put it all on him. Yeah. And it's not because I've learned to appreciate what he's trying to do. He's not an egomaniac. He's not like this guy that wants the spotlight. No, he wants to take it off his players. He wants to absorb it for them to not have to worry about things. And in this market,
no nonsense.
In this market, it's genius.
Yeah.
Make it about me so they can just go out and play.
Yeah.
I really gained some respect there, and I love it.
I think it's an ego check. I think he's just like, look, like I'll deal with the shit. Whatever. That's fine. I'm not worried about it.
It's leadership.
Close out of these guys. And if these guys are worried about what, San Filippo is going to say or what this column's going to say, I'm not getting the most out of them.
Yeah, it's leadership 101 to me, and he's really showing a huge example of how to be a leader for a young team. And I say young with knowing that they do have some older pieces, but he's
Sure.
really starting to play the youngers like Frost and all the guys in there. So, anyway, that wraps up this edition, a January 11th, 2023 edition of Fourth and Go, episode 46 here on the Heat Ratio Sports Network. We will be back next week breaking down the Eagles divisional round opponent and the time and the place. We know it's here. We just don't know the day yet and the place. I'm kind of edging for a Saturday night game, but I'll take a Sunday afternoon as well. We'll see. Either way, Mark, I can't wait to see what this weekend brings us.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it big time.
And I'm excited for some meaningful playoff football down at the link. Last year we got into the playoffs and it was like, we're going to lose to Tampa. We just know we're going to lose to Tampa. But it showed the transition phase that we just talked about with the Flyers. Let's see if we can really transition the way that this plan was percolating all along. So pumped for that. Hey, man, I just think if we get any of those teams we talked about earlier, look, if we get the Cowboys, I get it, and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I don't do any of those four other teams. I kind of, or three other teams, I kind of really do. Either way, I think the Eagles are in good shape.
Sure. And I'll tell you, the other day, I watched the Phillies yearbook and just going through the season and just going through each playoff matchup and how just like the momentum rolled and rolled and rolled. And it's just like, I can see it for the Eagles. I just want to get there and see them and see everything start to roll like you just saw, but the thing is the Eagles are in a higher spot. The thing is, Philadelphia had to come, or the Phillies had to come in as the last, place team.
Oh,
they made it work, but just watching from game to game to game, we got, if any of that momentum from the Phillies comes over to the Eagles, we're A-okay.
Yeah, it took that, what was it, 3-0 deficit in the ninth inning of game one against St. Louis. A lead they hadn't blown in any playoff scenario. So, it took something special to really get a special season rolling. Whereas the Eagles, it's been special all along. Let's keep that special rolling. So until next week, we'll be back on the air. We'll post. We'll let you know when we're coming on. Right now, looks like Wednesday evening next week. But if it changes, we'll definitely let you know through Twitter. But until then, I'm Dave Gleckner. That's Marc Tomasini. We are Philly, Fourth and Go, 4 for 4. So much more. Fly, Eagles, fly. Go Birds. See you next week.